Do we have any citizens or public comments? Seeing none. Welcome, everybody. Consideration of approval of the agenda.
So move, Your Honor.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
The agenda is approved as submitted. Consideration of approval of the minutes of the June 1 meeting. Any questions or discussion?
So move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
The minutes of the June 1 meeting are approved. Consideration of approval of the consent calendar. Any questions regarding the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Consent calendar is approved as submitted. Business of the mayor. Do we have a proclamation for Relay for Life here? Somebody step up, identify yourself, tell us what you're all about.
Good evening. My name is Connie Burney, and I am the 2015 Floyd County Relay for Life chairperson. And as you can see, these are some of our committee members behind me. We would like to invite you to join us this Friday, June 19th, between the hours of 5 and 10 at Central Park for the 19th annual Floyd County Relay for Life celebration. Last year, over 110 family members and friends in Floyd County heard the words, "You have cancer," for the first time, and an estimated 40 people in Floyd County lost their fight. This is why we relay. Relay for Life is a life-changing event that brings together more than 4 million people every year to celebrate the lives of those who have battled cancer, remember loved ones lost, and empower individuals and communities to fight against this disease that takes too much from too many. This year, the American Cancer Society is making an effort to increase cancer screenings to 80% of adults over the age of 50 by 2018 to make people more aware that colon cancer is treatable and curable if detected early. Early diagnosis is the key to saving more lives. Colorectal cancer is the second leading cause of cancer death in men and women in the United States. Staying healthy, eating well, being active, limiting alcohol, and not smoking are important ways that you can help reduce your risk. For over a century, the American Cancer Society has fought for every birthday threatened by cancer in every community. We're determined to make this cancer's last century and to finish this fight, not just in Floyd County, but for people everywhere. Thank you again for your support of the Floyd County Relay for Life. Please join us Friday night in Central Park from 5 until 10 as we celebrate our theme this year, Dream Big, Hope Big, Relay Big. Thank you.
How many teams are you planning on having?
We have 13 teams this year. We actually just received another team a couple of nights ago, so we're excited.
Good. Any other questions?
I'd so move, Your Honor.
Second. Clerk will call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
The proclamation's approved. I'll come down and read it.
Don't pick your nose.
That's great water. A big group. Okay. Whereas the American Cancer Society is the nationwide community-based voluntary health organization dedicated to eliminating cancer as a major health problem by preventing cancer, saving lives, and diminishing suffering from cancer through research, education, advocacy, and service. And whereas the lives of many of the citizens of Charles City and Floyd County have been touched by cancer, and thus they have been drawn to support the continuing research that will find a cure for the disease. And whereas Relay for Life is a community-wide event that generates support for families who have suffered the death of a loved one because of cancer, and whereas the Survivors Walk during the Relay for Life event celebrates with those who are living with cancer and offers them hope for continuing health, and whereas the Luminarian ceremony honors the memory of loved ones who have died of cancer as well as those who are cancer survivors. Therefore, I, James A. Erb, Mayor of Charles City, Iowa, do hereby proclaim that the Relay for Life event be held on June 19, 2015, and may the citizens of Charles City and Floyd County support this event with great enthusiasm so that a cure for cancer can be found. And then signed it on this 15th day of June. I think we all know how heartfelt this struggle is to reach a final victory over cancer. I think every month or that goes by, we hear some promising signs. So I suspect we're starting to close in on a successful conclusion. Many thanks to you for supporting the effort all these years. Thank you.
Pick your nose.
See you next year, Connie.
And I also have a vacancy on the Housing Board, and it's my privilege to appoint Carol Tyler to appoint Susan Anderson. Carol's retired, I believe, but I talked with her, and she sounds like she's really going to be a good advocate for the folks who reside in the housing areas that the city and its board administer. We have Heidi out here. I think she probably knows as much or more than I do, but in my discussions, I have no doubt that Carol will do a good job. So I would make that recommendation.
Any motion on that?
Yep.
I move.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Okay. The appointment is confirmed, and you'll be able to proceed. You have a meeting, I think, this week, right? Okay. Next up, public hearing on the status of funded activities for housing rehab grant. I open the hearing. We have an affidavit of publication.
Yes, Your Honor.
Written comments or objections.
None, Your Honor.
Oral comments or objections.
I have several oral comments.
Step up and identify yourself.
Well, hello, everyone. My name is Steve Wendt from NIACOG, North Iowa Area Council of Governments. And again, this public hearing is to inform everyone here this evening what the City of Charles City has accomplished in its current housing rehab program and what needs to be done in order to complete the program successfully. And I'm making comments here because NIACOG is assisting the city in administering the program. And the program, for the most part, is funded by a federal CDBG grant, which is awarded by the state of Iowa through the IEDA. And according to federal CDBG guidelines, there are certain comments I have to make here this evening, and I will do that by means of a handout. I think that was included in the packet, so everyone up front has a copy of this handout. And Heidi has distributed it to anyone in the audience that would like to follow along. So if you have that, I won't go through this verbatim. I'll just hit the highlights that I need to in order to meet federal regulations. If you look at the first page, the original budget This is the actual budget that Heidi and her staff and others involved have been working off of, and NIACOG as administrative agent. We've been working off this budget since the inception. This was the budget that we applied for back in the fall of 2011 when we submitted the grant application, and it was awarded exactly as we had submitted. You'll see there that the total grant award was $316,500. More importantly, the City of Charles City local match was $30,000. Actually, $5,000 of that was hard cash general administration payable to NIACOG as general administrative agent. The remaining $25,000 was actually a soft or in-kind local match. The city has two departments that are handling much of the administration, called Technical Services, also known as Rehab Administration or Direct Administration. Heidi and her staff at the Charles City Housing Redevelopment Authority and the Code Enforcement Department are handling much of the rehabilitation activity, and that imputed value of their services is $25,000. That's basically what the city would have had to pay out if they would have hired a third party to do what those two departments are handling. So, and also, as you see on the first page, we did apply for funds to rehabilitate 10 homes. 9 of those homes are now completed, and Heidi informs me that the 9th or the 10th one is well in process and should be completed in the next couple weeks or within the next month or so. So we are well on our way to winding down the program. So there you have it. Total grant $316,500, local match $30,000 for a total program cost of $346,500. We had one budget adjustment. The local power company here in Charles City has a good rebate program, and Heidi was able to generate some rebates through one of her projects, and the city redirected that into the same project, I believe, which we needed some extra funds to complete the project, so that was very innovative, and that was applied as a local match obligation, that utility rebate that came back to the city. That was in the amount of $1,853, so as you see, the final adjusted local match the city had was $31,853. Okay, that takes care of the first page. The second page, we discussed the City of Charles City's local match. That's usually what's important to everyone here. There are two types of administration. As we said, general administration. Charles City is providing $5,000 in local match toward general administrative costs. NIACOG is handling most of the general administrative duties. That's not project specific. That's costs that are spread over the entire program. Correspondence with IDID, writing reports to IDID, environmental review, requesting draw funds, that's all under the umbrella of general administration. Holding public hearings is a general administrative function. That's why I'm here this evening. So that's where $5,000 of your $30,000 local match is going. The rest of it down below is, again, the $25,000 soft local match under technical services. Again, that's called direct administration or rehab administration. Those are project-specific administrative duties. That's actually taking the applications, processing the applications, writing up the project specs and project supervision. The city, through those two departments, Charles City Housing Redevelopment Authority and the Code Enforcement Department are handling those duties. So there's where your local match is going. $25,000 in-kind or soft local match for technical services and $5,000 cash match to NIACOG for the general administrative duties. If you'll turn to page 3, just shows you the income eligibility limits in the program. Back in 2012, when Heidi first started processing applications, for example, if she had a 3-person household applicant, if that applicant was making less than $42,750, they were income eligible. Today, if Heidi was processing that same application, it shows you that the limits have gone up somewhat. Today, that same 3-person household, if it made less than $44,550, would be income eligible in the program. And the rest of page 3 just shows the income sources that Heidi has to verify and include as she's income qualifying the applicants. Okay, if you turn to page 4, just hitting some of the highlights. Again, the grant amount was $316,500. It was awarded on May 14th, 2012. The CDBG contract end date with the Iowa Economic Development Authority was actually May 31st, 2014. But as we show here, the rehabilitation program, the 10 homes were not completed by May 31st, 2014. There were several high-impact, high-cost complex homes that were rehabilitated in the program. Additional processing time was needed, so IEDA understood this and extended the city's contract end date. And now that's November of this year, November of 2015. As Heidi said, we'll complete that final project within the next month, so we'll easily meet that new time extension. And just to note, all IED rehab contracts now have 3-year terms, so it's not unusual for cities to request an amendment. The IEDA would rather have good projects that take a while to complete rather than hastily moving through some projects that aren't so good. So they realize that. So again, it's no big deal to extend the contract time. So we're good to go there. We did have an IDID monitoring session as shown on page 4. Jeremy Babcock of the CDBG Housing Division at IEDA held a monitoring session for the City of Charles City on April 23rd, 2015. Mr. Babcock concluded after the monitoring session that the City of Charles City rehabilitation program was being administered in conformance with all requirements of the federal CDBG program, and the only requirement that he found was to hold this public hearing, which we're doing right now, of course. So we passed with flying colors, which is very important if the city should ever want to apply for funds, another rehab program in the future. Application summary, Heidi tells me altogether there were 17 homeowners in the designated target area that submitted an application, and of course 10 of these were or were given rehabilitation assistance. And finally, the target area. The selected target area contains about 235 single-family homes. A map of the target area called the Wildwood Park Restoration Area shown on the following page. So if you turn to the next page, there is the target area for this current rehab program, south central portion of the city, and again appropriately named Wildwood Park Restoration Area because of the park adjacent to the west. And this map also shows the 10 homes that were rehabilitated. Again, 9 have completed, and the one remaining 10th home down on South Johnson there is in process and will be completed within a month. Okay, if you turn to page 6, now we need to go over the actual numbers in the program just briefly. This is the money spent to date in the Charles City Housing Rehabilitation Program. If you look at that first column, that's the grant funds that have been expended or requested to date. That amount, as you see, is $285,046. That leaves us with a grant funds balance so far of $31,454. Over on the third column, the city's local match expended to date is $26,853. In other words, we have $5,000 left to expend in the total $31,853 local match obligation. And down below it shows you how we're going to spend that remaining funds. Again, showing you that grant funds spent to date was $285,046. Heidi tells me that we have approximately $20,031 left to spend on the final project, Project 10, and then we have some remaining general admin funds. So it looks like we're going to spend about $307,000 of the $316,500 of grant funds that are available. And then on the bottom of page 6, we look down at the expenditure of the remaining local match. Again, the local match paid to date is $26,853. And we have some money left for Project 10 and some remaining general administration, and that will give you your total local match of $31,853. That is a typo down there. That bottom number is $31,853. Then the final page contains the same numbers as the previous page, only it's broken down on an address basis per project. If you look at column A on the last page, those are the actual homes that were rehabilitated. Column H is the actual CDBG funds spent on the project. You'll look down at Project 10. We've only spent $12,113 on that project so far because it's in process. But as shown right below there, we have an estimated $21,031 estimated expenses remaining on that project. So it does show this. And also on the column, refer you to column K. That shows the local match spent to date. Again, the 9 projects are done, so 2,500 local match. Project 9, where it shows you the 4353, that was the project where the utility rebate came in. So there, that shows you on where the $26,583 went to date. Also, we show $31,554 in homeowner contributions to date. And Heidi informs me that Project 10 will have probably around a $7,600 homeowner contribution. So total homeowner contributions in the program are $39,154. And HUD likes to see this. Other funds, other the more non-CDB funds in the program, the better it is. In fact, you'll see the 39,154 actually exceeds the city's local match. The city's local match is 31,853, and the other funds, the homeowner contributions, will total 39,154. And most of those homeowner contributions is third-party gap financing. Heidi should be commended for taking the extra time. That's over and above what's normally involved in technical services. She had to work mainly with the USDA Rural Development in setting up this gap financing. Most of the gap financing was financed through the USDA Rural Development. So that's where we got most of the $39,154. So, and I have one final comment down at the bottom. I mentioned column C plus F plus M combined will be $318,718 upon the completion of the final project. Those are the three expense items that are most important. The other items, the other columns, are just cost to meet government regulations, technical service, and administrative fees. So what we're looking at, funds actually spent on the 10 homes is $318,718. So we have so what happens is we have a $31,853 local match, leading to a $318,718 boost to the health, safety, soundness of the city's housing stock. That's almost exactly a 10-to-1 ratio, and that shows you why this program is so popular in Iowa and across the United States. For every $1 of local match, every $1 of money, time, and effort that the city put in this program, they're getting $10 out in improving the city's housing stock. Okay, now those are the comments that I have to make. Are there any other comments, any questions? That's all I need to say at this time.
Other questions or discussion?
Are there any anticipated future rehab projects that we have coming up?
We're thinking about applying for funds again in the near future. This is the 4th program I've been involved in since I've been at NIACOG, so, and I enjoy working with Heidi and staff, so certainly.
Any other questions?
Nope, not here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I need I think all I need is a motion to close the hearing.
Moved, Your Honor. Second.
Third, fourth.
Clerk, call the roll.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye. Hearing's closed.
Thank you.
Next, the public hearing on ordinance 1082 to recodify the City of Charles City Code of Ordinances. And open that hearing. We have an affidavit of publication. Do we have an affidavit of public?
Yes, Your Honor, sorry.
Written comments or objections?
None, Your Honor.
Oral comments or objections?
Move to close the hearing.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Star.
Okay, the hearing's closed. Consideration of second reading of ordinance 1082. Discussion?
Basically what we're doing here is recodification of the city code of ordinances, and that's something you typically do every 5 years or so, just to make sure that all your code is up to date with any legislative changes that have happened, and you verify that any updated ordinances that you've put in place are in fact in your code, and make sure everything's up to speed. So we've been working through that process here for the last couple of years, and we're to the point of where we're approving, having the second reading of our ordinance to approve the recodification, and probably 95% of it is legislative changes, updates that way. Some things we've updated and changed just to meet our current needs with language and wordage, but there's really no substantial changes other than our recent tweaks to the rental housing inspection program, which we recently implemented. We're kind of fine-tuning that, but basically this would be our second reading to approve.
Did we have any questions as a result of the first meeting where we discussed this, or
I have not received any comments.
just curious?
Trudy,
No,
Trudy
I
has
have
as
not
well.
either.
But no, I haven't received any comments.
I'd so move.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Motion's passed. We'll have the second reading.
Ordinance number 1082, an ordinance adopting the Code of Ordinances of the City of Charles City, Iowa.
Thank you. Public hearing on housing capital fund projects. Open the hearing. We have an affidavit of publication.
Yes, Your Honor.
Any written comments or objections?
None, Your Honor.
Any oral comments or objections?
Move to close the hearing.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
The hearing is closed. Consideration of Resolution 79-15, approving final plans and specs for public housing capital project 14-120B. Discussion.
I'm Heidi Nielsen, the Housing Director. This project is part of a larger project that was initially bid, and we received no bids for it, so we broke it down into 3 smaller projects. Wagner and Weiniger Architects, they prepared the specifications, and there was one addendum to the original plans. The existing sheathing on the building will not adequately hold the nails for attaching the sidings, and the initial plans called for some of the siding to be vertical and some of it to be horizontal, just to change out the different elevations on the buildings. And because of that, they're not able to put vertical siding because there's nothing to attach it to. So they made the change to the plans to reflect that. So all the siding will be horizontal now. And the project is going to be funded by the capital improvement funds. And the Housing Board met on June 9th and reviewed them and recommend approval.
Okay, at this point, we're on the approval of final plans and specs. Any other discussion or questions?
Other than the siding, no real changes to it, right? Judy? Heidi, sorry. I'd so move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Malero.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Resolution 79-15 is approved. Next is consideration of Resolution 80-15 awarding the contract for Public Housing Capital Project 14-120B. We've had some of the discussion, but go right ahead and complete it.
Okay, with this project, we did receive one bid. The reason that we were given that we weren't initially the contractors didn't bid is that they were just too busy. So we were pleased to see one bid come in, and the bid came in from Watertight Construction for $74,800. And there's a unit cost to replace any of the damaged sheathing at $1 per square foot. The architect's cost estimate was $98,655. The Housing Board did review this also and do recommend approval of the bid.
Watertight Construction has done some other projects for you in the past, haven't they?
Yeah, they actually put the siding on this building back in the 90s.
Okay. Always been satisfied with their work to date?
Yeah, yep, they're always willing to come back and fix anything that they need to.
It's so move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Star. Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Resolution 80-15 is approved. And next, there's consideration of a motion to reject bids received for Public Housing Capital Project 14-120A and redo bidding process. Discussion.
Okay, this project involves reworking the existing handrails at all 3 of the public housing sites, South Cedar Terrace, North Cedar Terrace, and Morningside Apartments. The work is fairly extensive. The reason we need to do the work is to make sure that our properties are ADA compliant. We did receive one bid for this project also. We got a bid from Dean Snyder Construction from Clear Lake. The bid came in at $185,400. which is $65,793, or 56% higher than our cost estimate of $119,607. It's substantially higher. We did a little bit of research. There was an additional contractor that was going to submit a bid and had to withdraw because of some difficulties that they had in the bidding process. Wagner and Weinecker did contact them to find out what their bid would have been, and it was approximately $120,000, which was, almost exactly what our cost estimate was. The Housing Board has met and discussed this, and they would like to recommend that the rejection of the bid from Dean Snyder Construction, and then wait until possibly December, January, and go out and rebid this, hopefully to catch, the contractors, in the process of planning for their spring and summer work.
Further discussion?
And that's what you feel the biggest issue with not receiving enough or competitive bids was just timing of it, that they're already in their construction cycle, and if we catch them earlier enough in the season, that we may see better results.
That's our plan.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Okay, motion's approved and the bids will be rejected. Consideration of resolution number 81-15, approving waivers for Bill Carr. Recommendation for planning and zoning.
Well, the city staff has been meeting with Mr. Carr, with Carr Properties, and he has plans to locate and operate a new mini storage facility in Charles City. He's identified a parcel in East Park Industrial Park subdivision that he'd like to purchase and construct some mini storage units in phases. The off-street parking requirements, they're stipulated as part of Chapter 12 of the city's zoning ordinance. Mr. Carr has submitted a request per the waiver provision to waive the request for some of the requirements within there. The waiver request considered and recommended by the city's Planning and Zoning Commission consists of waiving the required hard surface paving, waive the requirement for the construction of PCC curb and gutter, and waive the requirements for the number of off-street parking requirements for this type of development. The driveway approach into the site will be paved with 6-inch thick Portland concrete, which is part of the city's requirements. And there will be concrete approaches that project out 6 feet from the front of each of the storage unit doors. The remainder of the development of the site will be furnished with aggregate gravel surfacing that will match the existing ground and be without the construction of curb and gutter. The staff concurs with the request for waiver for the number of required parking spaces in this first phase of the site development. The expected use will be transient, and therefore there will be no need for a public to enter the site and park a vehicle. So Mr. Carr is here tonight to elaborate and maybe answer any of your questions.
Do you have any questions you'd like to propose?
Any questions?
I don't have any. I think we've talked about it.
We've had some fairly extensive discussion in the planning session, so I think for the most part the council is aware of the considerations that go into the waiver request. Anything else from anybody?
We need a legal description for the property.
Yeah, John's got it, and he's gone, so I'll fill that in before it gets printed. Yep.
But we as a city were satisfied with this waiver, though?
We are.
Okay.
So moved, Your Honor. I was just going to say, I think as we discussed the other night, though, I think we really need to look at our zoning ordinances and things, and
right.
need to take a hard look at those.
Our zoning requirements require it's basically any type of parking surface be paved, and so that's that can add a considerable amount of cost, and it's something we should look at, and because we do seem to receive a number of waiver requests, and If we're going to be granting waivers, as you know, Ralph has kind of alluded to, I mean, then you need to adjust your code rather than be granting waivers. That means that your code is not where you want it. So we do need to take an extensive look at that and see how we'd like to have that for the long term.
I'll second Keith's motion.
Sorry, Keith.
Any further discussion?
Well, as we also kind of discussed at the plan session, you know, as we formulate our comprehensive plan, hopefully this year, that we really take this into consideration as far as the waivers go as well, what direction we envision these developments to be and the impacts of some of these waivers that may be produced.
Yeah, they'll really play hand in hand because our comprehensive plan will lead us into how we should craft our zoning ordinance. So one precedes the other.
Mm-hmm.
Any other discussion or questions? Clerk, call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Resolution 81-15 is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Carr.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Next up is a consideration of first reading of ordinance 1083, changing the zoning classification for a certain parcel located within the city of Charles City, Iowa from R-1 single family residence and R-3 multifamily residence to B-4 highway service business district. We have a recommendation from planning and zoning.
We do. The Schooster family owns property generally located between the Chautauqua Guest Home and the Fairway Kmart properties from 11th Street to 18th Street. Property is currently zoned R1, which is single-family residential, and R3, multifamily residential. This zoning was established many years ago, prior to the opening of the Avenue of the Saints. And since the opening of the Avenue of the Saints, the future development on the south side of Charles City has been emphasized a more commercial and industrial type development. So on June 9th, on Tuesday, the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on the matter and are recommending the rezoning request. Basically, we'll be rezoning it from the residential to a commercial use, and so tonight would be our first reading to make that consideration.
Discussion.
Basically, the discussion the other night at the workshop was kind of like this seemed to be something that everybody thought was a good move and
I think
an okay
this one,
move. And
I think this one's a pretty easy decision because at one point I'm sure it made sense to have that zone for residential. It would have been kind of an outlying part of town, but now that it's right next to the highway, it's more applicable to have a highway commercial or industrial usage. And so this commercial, changing this to a commercial zoning fits right in. It certainly isn't going to be spot zoning at all.
And with all the commercial right along the east side of this, seems like it fits in well. And did we get satisfied? There was a concern the other night over having access to this property. Has that all been resolved?
Well, for this particular instance, the adjacent property that's looking to, there's an adjacent property owner looking to acquire property to extend the footprint of their existing lot, which has highway access. For future considerations, and this has been part of the discussion, is looking at platting out that entire parcel, that area that's getting rezoned, so that we know how that will be used in the future as far as streets and access. There is a 66-foot wide strip that connects to South Grand, which conceivably and will be a street at some point. They'll have access at least from the east, and there's potential for other access from probably the north and west and even south too. That before we get into a place of chopping that up into little pieces, we'll want to make sure that that's planned out properly and has proper access.
Further discussion.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Okay, the motion is approved. We'll have the first reading of ordinance 1083.
Ordinance number 1083, an ordinance changing the zoning classification for a certain parcel located within the city of Charles City, Iowa from R-1 single-family residence and R-3 multifamily residence to B-4 highway service business district.
Thank you. Consideration of Resolution 82-15, setting date for public hearing on ordinance 1083. Discussion. Somebody going to speak? Hello.
Well, this is our, we're having our first reading tonight, so we're setting our public hearing for the first meeting in July for this ordinance. As usual, the timing of this rezoning and potential sale of this is important to keep moving, so we're looking to set the public hearing for this ordinance at our second reading, which will be the first meeting in July.
Any other questions or discussion?
So move, Your Honor.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Malero.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Resolution 82-15 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 83-15, amending Resolution 171-01, outlining council procedures. Discussion.
Well, I've only thought this was strange for a year. I know Ralph has been been concerned about these portions of our typical council meeting for much longer than that. But actually, our items, what we have tonight, are 10, 11, consideration of unfinished business and consideration of new business. We're changing our policy and our procedures for the council to remove those items, because unless you have an item on the agenda, you're not supposed to act on it. So really having those on there do not serve much of a purpose. So we'll be eliminating those two items. And additionally, we wanted to address some of our ad hoc city committees that we have, our finance committee and our personnel committee. They're served by 2 council members. And so we're going to be writing appointment of those committees into our policy and procedure as well. And those will be positions that are filled within the council, so the council will elect to post those positions. So other than that, it's just basically some cleanup.
So move for 83-15.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Star.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Resolution 83-15 is approved. Consideration of Resolution 84-15, authorizing and approving a loan agreement and providing for the issuance of a general obligation corporate purpose note. Discussion.
And this would be for our one-day borrowing, for our annual list of items that we have set up for a central corporate purpose. And we have a total of $238,000 worth of items, consisting of various things from squad car purchase, tree removal, nuisance abatement, equipment, legal fees, and other assorted things. We've received 4 different, we sent out requests to 4 different banks as far as financing or setting up this one-day borrowing, and we received 3 bids back. One of them from First Security for $75, one from First Citizens for $50, and one from State Bank for $250. So we are recommending that First Citizens be the bank to help us complete our one-day borrowing transaction.
So move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Yeager.
Aye.
Friesman.
Abstain.
Excuse me. Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Star.
Aye.
Aye.
Threw me there. Sorry.
I was just trying to figure out what unforms are.
Resolution 84-15 is approved.
I'll explain to you.
You had 8 votes on it. It should be.
Oh my
Costs
goodness.
less than uniform.
Consideration of a motion accepting / rejecting bid on First Avenue Extension. Discussion.
As part of our agreement with the school, we agreed to bid doing work on extending First Avenue, essentially about 3 blocks. And we put in some caveats into the bid that if it was bid over a certain amount, that we would have the option to reject that bid. So conversely, now that bids have been open, we have a 20-day window to review and consider acceptance of the bids. The bids were bid out in pieces, so there's essentially 2 bids that constitute our portion of the work. And one of them is for the excavation work, the earthwork and utility portion, and that bid is for McKinnon's Excavating in the amount of $96,000. And then there's also a portion for the concrete work itself, and that's to Allied Paving for $108,879.38. So the total sum that we are going to be considering tonight is $204,879.38. That constitutes the bid amount of the work to be done. And per our agreement, that's what we have agreed to pay. So I'm asking that the council consider approval of that tonight. Something additional that we're going to be talking with the school a little bit about is some of the engineering and or construction management associated with that. That will be a separate consideration for the council to consider. So tonight I'm just asking that you approve the bid purchase amounts. We hope to be working through that discussion here in the next week or so.
Further discussion or questions?
This First Avenue extension is something we normally did not have planned, we're not going to do, but because of the school anticipated expansion, we're doing it to cooperate with them and make it a better access for everybody and improve the street.
Yeah, there's certainly some mutual benefit. We didn't have immediate plans for extending First Avenue. With the project of the school happening adjacent to that, and with the school's need to have access into the school,
right.
We offered to essentially pay and do that portion of a street extension to hopefully have some economies of scale by bidding on a larger project, which effectively looks like it worked. But, I mean, it wasn't anything on our immediate docket, no.
If the school wasn't doing anything, we probably would not expand First Avenue just 2 or 3 blocks.
Right.
But being they are, we're cooperating with them, and the bids come in good, so it sounds like a pretty good. And it does give that second exit access to the Park Avenue addition out there.
It allows us to get a lot of bang for our buck, basically. We're able to, the school had to extend that probably about a block. So we're going an additional 2 blocks to give better traffic flow to that entire neighborhood, open up, Park Avenue for better traffic, and to give the school, better access to First Avenue. So it's not something that was immediately on the front burner, but the opportunity to present itself, and it's
I'd so move we go along with it.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I just wanted to say there's been a lot of things over the years where the city and the school have worked together, and a lot of 28 agreements and things like that, and I appreciate the fact that they were willing to work with us, and we were able to work with them on this project as well.
Clerk will call the roll.
Friesman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
The motion is accepting the bid is approved. Or bids, actually. Consideration of motion approving location and size of shells for July 4th fireworks. Discussion.
Several weeks ago, I received a request from J&M, the outfit that has our fireworks presentation on the 4th, and they asked about the possibility of closing off the Main Street Bridge officially a half hour before the fireworks show, which is typically what our practice has been. But if we officially close a half hour before, that'll allow them time to set up a finale series of fireworks on the bridge itself, and would allow them to use a little bit larger shell. Right now, because of the proximity of where things are shot off, we can use a 2-inch diameter shell. By moving it to the bridge, it would allow us to have adequate spacing to do a 3-inch shell and basically give a little bit better presentation for the community. I know Mark Wicks and the Fireworks Committee have reviewed and have recommended that the City Council approve the allowance of this larger shell and usage of the bridge. And as far as the adjacent properties, we've been in the practice, at least the last couple of years, of closing off the Lions Rose Garden there in an effort to help protect the roses, but in effect that actually helps give us the distance requirements that we need. And we also close off the adjacent mill park on the other side of Main Street there as well. So we meet our space requirements very well. I know we, as part of our discussion the other night at our workshop, we had the gentleman here from J&M, and he spoke about how you know, some of the steps that they've taken to ensure that we have a good, safe show, and how the tubes and whatnot are linked together, so you know, which will help, you know, prevent any type of tip-over accident. But then I learned the other night that we actually had a defective shell that was caused the accident in 2008. So you know, fireworks are as safe as fireworks can be, and every precaution is being taken. And this, you know, as we talked about, the city insurance doesn't cover fireworks. That's always provided by a secondary insurer. And in this case, the chamber has a $10 million policy. Well, through J&M, I should say, has a $10 million policy, and they extend that coverage to the city. So we're listed as additional insured, and so we're covered that way. And so city insurance is not involved per se, but we're asking that the council approve the use of the larger shell and effectively the closure of the bridge half hour prior to the show.
Discussion or questions?
And we feel traffic-wise we can handle that. That's a pretty busy night, but if you shut that bridge down for an hour or so, that's going to work all right?
3 minutes past, it goes down about 20 minutes.
Okay.
To the show, and then it was closed until the fire once there was cleared anyway, so it should be about the same amount of time.
All right. Good. Thank you. So move.
Second.
Any other discussion or questions?
I was just going to comment that we did talk about alternate sites, and I think it was everyone's feeling that everyone was a lot happier in the community about having it back downtown, and really wanted to try and make this work and continue to have the fireworks uptown. So
something we also did talk about is maybe, in addition to using the downtown, maybe using a secondary location as an additional spot, but that's for future discussion, I guess.
Clerk will call the roll.
Hammond. Malero. Hammond.
Aye.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye, aye.
Priestman.
Aye.
Goodness gracious.
Motion's approved.
I think you'll make it.
Consideration of Resolution 85-15, approving salaries of non-bargaining unit employees for fiscal year 2015-2016. Discussion.
Well, we just approved a month or so ago here a new bargaining agreement with our local unions, and the first year of wage increases for the bargaining unit is 3%. And historically, we've offered the same increase for our non-union members as well. So what you see there is a list of our non-union employees, all with a 3% wage increase figured in. There are two exceptions, Dan Rimrod and Dirk Utes. In addition to the 3%, I did add an additional $4,000 total to their salary. And I've spoken in detail with our personnel committee, with Jerry and Mike, about that, and that's just in an effort to get them in more of a competitive wage where they really should be than where they're at now.
Questions or further discussion?
I'd so move.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Malero.
Aye.
Starr.
Aye.
Yeager.
Aye.
Priestman.
Aye.
Hammond.
Aye.
Okay, Resolution 85-15 is approved. The city attorney, I need a opinion, unfinished business and new business. Is it still on the agenda, or has it been stricken?
I don't know. Let's go ahead. It's not, we're not going to handle anything, so.
As far as you know.
We'll do it for this meeting.
Pardon?
Go ahead and do it for this meeting.
Okay.
We'll throw one in for you just to throw you off.
One last
Somebody has
time.
old business or
Last chance.
yeah, unfinished business or new business.
Okay.
Last chance to use it.
Consideration of unfinished business. Hearing none, consideration of new business. Hearing none.
An era ends.
It's done, yay.
We haven't closed the meeting yet.
Miscellaneous correspondence.
I do have a thank you. It was actually addressed to the Fit for Life Committee, but this kind of flowed through the city. A thank you from the people that put in the community gardens on Clark Street. They're very happy that they're in, and they've got most of them rented, and they just want to thank us so much for helping them with funding to get that thing off the ground. So
They look
it's a very
great.
good project.
Looks
Yeah,
really good.
great project.
They're well cared for. Plants are shooting up.
Yep,
So it's really exciting to see.
yep.
Okay. City attorney's report.
Nothing.
City clerk's report.
Next planning session will be June 22nd at 7 o'clock. And I just want to remind everybody about the evaluation forms for the city clerk, city administrator, and city attorney. Get them to the mayor as soon as you can. The way it's looking, we probably won't do evaluations till July 6th. So that'll work out fine.
Okay. City administrator's report.
Just to follow up on the 28E for the communications for the broadband, we were hoping to have that on the agenda for tonight. We didn't quite get it there, but we will be looking to consider that at our first meeting in July. With the essential changes where we made in discussion with Ralph, just some basic changes as far as determining terms for the board and spelling out some of the basic do's and don'ts within the provision, and also including a consideration for the council to consider a 2.5% increase on top of last year's contribution to the school, and then a second year with a 2.5% on top of that as well. So we'll be officially reviewing that.
I'll put that on the workshop.
Yeah, we'll put that on the workshop. I know we want to get that on there so the school can consider it as far as their wage requests go for this new year, and we hope to convey that and have that out for the council to consider at the next workshop. So. Next thing is police chief assessments. We had that on Saturday. That was a good day. Assessment. The process went well, and I think it was enjoyed by all that participated. I know Hugh had a great time. So we're hoping to set up. We're looking to set up our Civil Service Commission meeting this Thursday to officially have them certify the ranking results. And then I hope to make an offer, an appointment very soon thereafter. So that process should be coming to a close here shortly. The plantings and maintenance along South Grand. As we talked at our planning session, there's an ongoing concern and issue with the plantings along South Grand and the weeds that have grown up in there. And thank you to our service clubs for kind of championed by the Rotary Group to help pull those along the roadway there and get that cleaned up. And after further discussion, we've talked, and Mark Wicks and I have talked a little bit further about doing some weed maintenance, some spraying and trimming. And in the past, we've gotten a quote for about $3,900 to do a pre-emergent, emergent, and final spraying, in addition to doing a trimming of the shrubs along the way. And so we were thinking that it might behoove us to help come up with a long-term plan, and kudos to the chamber. They've been going around to the adjacent property owners looking to solicit annual funds to have an ongoing maintenance plan to address the bushes and the weeds out there and whatnot. For the time being, the chamber has allocated found some funds to help do the spraying here in the next 2 weeks. That'll help keep any of the weeds that were just pulled from coming back. Additionally, there should be a final spraying and a trimming of the bushes, which the chamber does not have funding for. So one of the items that we talked about is the potential for the city, as part of the kickoff, to help cleaning this up and helping with maintenance along there, that the remaining $1,300, that the city cover that with some of our nuisance abatement funds that we've certified, and use that to do the final spraying and final trimming of the bushes, with the intent that next year ongoing maintenance will be self-sustained by the adjacent property owners. So we're going to be looking to use about $1,300 to help with that endeavor and help get us to a place where we can keep that area manageable until we can come up with a long-term plan for adjusting how we have things out there. So.
And as a reminder, we can't just rip stuff out there because we're under contract for, do you remember how long we had that contract due to a grant?
Mark, can you speak on what the end date is?
That has been suggested to me, and I've had to say, well, no, we can't just do that.
We cannot recommend that people pull bushes.
We cannot. We have 5 years remaining on a 20-year maintenance agreement through the federal grant that we received for that. However, if the business owners wish to alter in a good way to help increase their curb appeal, we're not going to stop them from doing so. Our intention is to make this an attractive entryway into Charles City. That has been the goal from the get-go. And this was established 15 years ago. I think it served its function in creating an entryway from the Avenue of the Saints. Over the years, it's been determined that we can't get the bushes to grow all the way along the corridor for various reasons. So our primary goal is to clean it up, keep it looking good. Not only makes the businesses look good, but Charles City as a whole. And again, that's our main entryway for visitors off the Avenue of Saints. But we do have 5 years remaining on that fund. And we've had several business owners who have been working, taking the initiative, cleaning up, doing some alterations to it, but keeping the color and the plantings involved, and we really applaud them. It looks really, really nice, and because of that, it's having a domino effect. And that's kind of the whole idea of working as a community-wide effort to address this.
Thank you.
Next thing I wanted to mention was just the EPA 5-year review of the Shaw and LeBounty sites here in town. The LeBounty site is part of Zoetis, and so the city is not directly involved with that, but we are involved with the Shaw Avenue dump site, and that's been a cleanup site for the last 20-plus years. And this last fall, we had the EPA, the Department of Natural Resources, and Army Corps of Engineers come up, along with the person that works with Zoetis and the city, Neil Leipzig, to help administer this program, because we have annual testing requirements that we do, and so the EPA has just provided their initial draft of the 5-year review, and I guess I could say there's good news and bad news. The good news is things are really improving out there. They can see that the sublevel is cleaning itself out, and I believe they're looking at maybe removing about 11 of the test wells, which would take it from 33 to 22. So that's really good news. One of the things that additionally that they might be looking for is some additional testing requirements. Just looking and testing for things that haven't been required in the past. Now, it's my understanding that we've tested it and done some work along those lines, but tighter restrictions from the EPA. The end result being, looking for things that we basically maybe have not had to look for in the past. Now, we're pretty confident that we're going to come out well in those testings as well, but there's potential cost increase there, and so we share 50-50 with Zoetis, so our share might be somewhere around $60,000 to $70,000, depending on what tests they want to do. Now, we're putting in comments, we're making an argument as to why or why not some of this testing may need to be done, so we'll see how that comes out. But June 29th is the last day for submitting comments, so we're working through that process right now. Flagpole at the Lions. The Lions Club asked if they could erect a flagpole in the Lions Rose Garden Park there, with the flagpole laying in the park. I said, well, basically we looked at what they wanted to do, and they want to replace one of the light poles in the center of the park with a flagpole, and then light the flagpole. And they've agreed to maintain the flag, replace the flag, raise it and lower it as needed, but there will be an additional service there for putting in LED lights. So more or less, we're looking at probably a cost to the city of about $150 per year, and I figured we could probably live with that. So that'll be a nice touch down there for the Rose Garden. And lastly, I guess I just want to mention we had our first kind of our core meeting with our community facility assessment team, and we're developing a timeline for doing the community facility assessment, of which the city, county, Y, and school have all agreed to participate in, and at the proposed levels of what we talked about. So the school will be paying $15,000, city 5, county 5, and the Y 5. And we'll all be part of that contract and be billed equally. So we're looking to have a planning committee that is in-depth and part of this process of about 80 people. So it's going to be a pretty good-sized group, and we're looking to appoint people to this committee that have wide-ranging views on everything. So we have a good process, we have a good end result, and we really make some progress. So we're going to be looking at some dates at the end of July and early to mid-August for public shreds, public input meetings. So once those dates and times and locations are finalized, we'll let everybody know. But other than that, that's all I have.
One thought crossed my mind, not that I am adverse at all to the flag project. Make sure that whoever's handling that talks with, we have people who are expert on flag etiquette, and it's easy to violate some of those rules inadvertently.
To handle that, yes, I will.
Good. I was going to go like this. So, very well. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay. Okay. Board, commission, or committee reports. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?